In 1937, at the work table under the west window of the farmhouse where I still live, my grandmother Della held my grandfather's only suit jacket up to the light and found the left elbow gone thin. A new suit that year cost a month of a farmhand's wages. What Della did instead cost one evening and a length of thread, and that jacket went to church every Sunday for another 10 years. She knew 25 forgotten mending tricks that made clothes last 10 years, and tonight I am handing you every one of them. Folks will tell you clothes lasted back then because they were made better. That is not why. They lasted because somebody in the house knew how to make them last, and that somebody owned a needle. Fast fashion is counting on you never learning this. The $15 shirt is built to die inside a year, so you will buy it twice. And 60 years of marketing taught 2 whole generations that a mend is something to be ashamed of. We are done being ashamed. Hit subscribe and pull your chair up close, because in this house we spend less, we waste nothing, and we keep the wisdom the store is hoping you forget. Stay for number 15. The 10-minute trick that saves you a $25 pair of socks. And for number 1, a repair so clean it disappears into the cloth entirely. We start where Della started, not with the needle, with a place to put things. Number 25. The mending basket in a fixed place. Della kept a basket about 12 inches across on the shelf beside her chair. The same shelf for as long as anybody could remember, and the rule of the house was simple. The moment a garment showed a worn spot, a loose button, or a thin place, it went into the basket. Not back into the drawer. The drawer is where mending goes to be forgotten. The basket is where it goes to be done. Stock yours once and be finished with it. A mixed pack of sharps, sizes 7 through 9, which covers most fabrics you own. 4 to 6 small spools in the colours you actually wear. Black, navy, white, grey, tan. A thimble that fits snug, because a loose thimble is worse than none. Scissors that live there and nowhere else. I have said for years that a basket like this earns its keep the moment it saves one garment from the rag bag. A blouse, a work shirt, a pair of trousers, any one of them brought back in a single evening covers the cost of the whole basket and its thread stock for a year. Mine sits beside my evening chair tonight, with a pair of reading glasses slipped down the side, because mending done squinting gets put back half done. And hear me on this one thing, because it rescues the whole practice. If the basket ever sits 3 weeks untouched, do not try to empty it in one heroic evening. Take out 5 things, mend what you can in one sitting, and put the rest back without guilt. The basket is patient. Number 24. The weekly hour. A basket only works if you visit it. So you pick 1 hour, the same hour, every week, and you keep it like an appointment. Della's was Thursday, after supper, lamp lit, radio low, and in that 1 hour a week, nothing in her house ever wore beyond saving. Heels got run, buttons got reset, seams got caught while they were still seams. And this is not her invention, and it is not mine. Lydia Maria Child put it in print in 1832, in a book called The American Frugal Housewife. Attend to all the mending in the house once a week, if possible. Run the heels of stockings faithfully. Mend thin places as well as holes. And then Child added the 4 words your own grandmother said to you: a stitch in time saves 9. She was quoting it in 1832 because the saying was already old then. It has not aged since. Number 23. Thin places first. Now, when you sit down to that hour, do not reach for whatever is lying on top of the pile. Triage first. Thin places and loose seams get the needle before anything else in the basket, because those are the two repairs that are becoming expensive while you wait. A loose seam is a tear by Friday. A thin heel is a hole by Sunday. The torn pocket, the missing button on the coat you wear twice a year, all of that can sit another week without costing you a dime. The thin place cannot. The thin place costs you a length of thread today. The hole costs you the garment. Every dollar this whole list will ever save you lives in that gap. Number 22. The window test. So how do you find a thin place before your fingers do? You hold the cloth up to strong light. Della held her sheets against the kitchen window every spring, and the wear showed as a pale streak down the middle, plain as a road on a map, long before there was any hole to feel. Light through cloth tells the truth. Where the weave has gone sparse, more light comes through, and the thin country shows up brighter than the sound cloth around it. And I do the same thing at the window over my sink with shirt elbows and the seats of work trousers. 10 seconds a garment, twice a year. A sheet, a shirt, the seat of a pair of trousers, they all wear the same lazy way in the one place that takes the load. Remember this one, because it comes back at number 6 and saves you an entire sheet. Number 21. The strengthening darn. Say the light shows you a place going thin and there is no hole yet. Good. This is the trick that exists for exactly that moment, and it is the simplest darn there is. Run rows of fine parallel stitches lengthwise across the thin ground, row beside row, following the direction of the fabric's own loops, and then stop. No weaving, no patch, just quiet reinforcement laid into cloth that is still whole, new thread carrying the load beside the tired threads. There is a school book from 1916 called Clothing and Health by Helen Kinn and Anna Cooley that taught this to 12-year-old girls in home economics rooms, and the reason they gave still stands word for word. Small holes grow to be larger ones if one is not careful. 12-year-olds had it on the blackboard. The modern closet never got the lesson. Number 20. The darning egg. Before you darn a real hole, you need a curve under your work. A wooden darning egg, about 2 inches across, slips inside the stocking, so the worn spot lies flat and taut over the wood. No egg in the house? A smooth rounded stone does the same job, and the handle of a wooden spoon does fine inside the toe of a sock. The curve matters more than people think. Cloth held loose in the hand gets darned loose, and a loose darn puckers, and a pucker rubs. Stretched over the egg, every stitch goes in at honest tension, and the mend comes off the egg lying flat as the cloth around it. The egg in my basket is Della's creek stone, and I have used it my whole life. Nothing about a smooth stone has been improved on since. Number 19. The thread weight rule. Match your thread to the garment. In colour, yes, but above all, in weight. Never heavier than the yarn you are mending. A fine stocking wants fine thread and a fine needle. A darning needle in size 18 or 20. This is the rule beginners break first, because heavy thread feels stronger and stronger feels safer. It is the opposite. A heavy thread in fine cloth stands up in a ridge, and that ridge rubs against shoe and skin all day until it wears a fresh hole right at the edge of your beautiful mend. The old books priced out what is at stake. A plain cotton stocking replaced costs $1 or more each time, a good wool one several, and thread costs pennies a repair. So, hold the thread against the fabric's own yarn before you begin, and if it looks thicker, put it back. A too heavy thread mends nothing, it measures out the next hole. Number 18. The woven darn. This one is the heart of the whole craft, so take it slow with me. Egg under the hole. Begin 1/4 inch outside the worn ground, out in soundcloth, never at the ragged edge. Run fine parallel stitches across the hole in rows, one beside the next, in the direction of the fabric's loops. Those rows are your warp, a little loom strung across the gap. Then turn the work and weave back across those threads at a right angle, over one, under the next, over, under, snugging each row gently down against the last, until the gap has filled into a small woven patch that belongs to the stocking. The same 1916 school book that taught the strengthening darn taught this one to the same girls, and notice that the old books never say to sew a hole shut. Pulling the edges of a hole together makes a pucker and a scar that wears again. A darn does something better. You are weaving new cloth on the loom of the old, at your kitchen table, with your own 2 hands. And the smallest trick on this whole list is what keeps that little patch alive. So do not blink. Number 17. The no knot finish. No knots, not at the start, not at the end. Begin by leaving a 2-inch tail of thread hanging loose behind the work, and when the darn is done, finish by running your thread back through the last few stitches, then weave both tails into the back of the mend, and cut them close. A knot under a heel is a pebble in a shoe. It presses, it rubs, and sooner or later it works itself loose and takes your whole mend with it. The old darners never tied one, and their work outlived them. Number 16. The grey needle. In Della's basket lived one needle that was always threaded, and it was always threaded in neutral grey. That is the entire trick, and it is worth more than it sounds. Grey was the colour of most stockings in the drawer, and near enough for half of everything else in the house. So when you spot a thin place at 7 in the morning on the sock you are about to put on, you do not go hunting a needle, squinting at an eye, wetting a thread. You sit down on the edge of the bed and catch it in 3 minutes, because the needle was ready before the hole was. Number 15. The sock darn. Here is the one I promised you at the start, the 10-minute trick. And I want you to keep one eye on the arithmetic while we work. Good wool socks run $15 to $25 a pair now. The yarn to darn one costs pennies, and a darn is not a once-in-a-lifetime rescue. Darn a pair twice a year for 10 years, and the thread has paid for itself 100 times over. Turn the sock inside out. Stretch the thin place or the hole over your egg, your stone, or that wooden spoon handle. Run rows of small running stitches across the hole and out into soundcloth on every side. Then turn 90 degrees and weave over and under, just the way number 18 taught you. Tails woven in at the back, no knots, exactly like number 17. A practice darn takes under 10 minutes start to finish, and I know the fear, because I have heard it at my own kitchen table, that a darn sock will show, or that you will feel the mend underfoot all day. A proper darn is invisible from a foot away, and your foot cannot find it. Lydia Maria Child settled the money side of this back in 1832 with 3 words: time is money. And she wrote down something the sock aisle will never tell you, that knit hose wear twice as long as woven ones. I wear darned wool socks every day of winter, and I have not paid for a new pair in 9 years. Pennies of yarn against $25, 10 minutes against the checkout page. That is not thrift, that is arithmetic. Number 14. The scrap tin. Now I finally get to tell you about the tin, because you are going to need it at number 1. Above Della's work table sat a dented biscuit tin, and that tin had one job in this world. Every garment that came into the house gave something up to it. The spare snippet of cloth sewn inside the seam of a new coat went in. The trimmed edge of a hem went in. A square harvested from a hidden seam allowance followed them, 1 to 2 square inches, which is enough for most repairs, and which nobody will ever miss from the inside of a garment. She never explained the tin to anyone. She just fed it. And then one day a sleeve tore, and she opened the lid, and the match was waiting. Same cloth, same bolt, same dye lot. A match no store shelf can sell you at any price, because the store never saw that bolt of cloth. That same tin sits above my work table tonight, and every new thing I buy still pays its toll into it. Start yours this week. A cookie tin, a shoebox, a coffee can. It does not matter. What matters is that 10 years from now, the day the sleeve tears, you open the lid and find exactly what you need. Number 13. Never put out plain sewing. That phrasing is not mine. It is Lydia Maria Child's, printed in 1832, 4 words long. Never put out sewing. Meaning, do not pay a shop to do a button, a hem, a straight seam, a plain darn. Work that one evening in the chair can finish should never leave the house with money attached to it. And I will tell you what that rule is up against today, because it is not really the tailor. It is the reflex underneath, the little voice that says it is cheaper to just buy new. You have been watching the numbers with me all night. It almost never is. Della did not pay for plain sewing one time in her life, and by the end of this list, you will not need to either. That is 13. We are past halfway now, and everything from here down comes off the tailor's shelf, the tricks that rescue suits, trousers, and the good wool. Number 12. The backing cloth. Everything heavier than a stocking wants a foundation under the mend. Cut a square of matching or harmonising wool, about 2 inches by 2 inches, and tack it to the inside of the garment, underneath the worn place, using basting thread in a contrasting colour, so you can find those stitches and pull them later. Now every darning stitch you take from the right side catches down through into that backing square, so you are not just crossing a weak spot with thread, you are rebuilding fabric onto a foundation that holds it. This comes straight out of a government bulletin from 1943 called Mending Men's Suits, Miscellaneous Publication 482 from the United States Department of Agriculture, written by 2 women named Clarice Scott and Anne Haygood, and you can still read every page of it for free. Keep that bulletin in mind. The next 3 numbers all come out of it. Number 11. The darker thread rule. When you mend anything that shows, match your thread to the cloth if you can. And when you cannot match it exactly, go 1 shade darker, never lighter. That is Scott and Haygood's own rule from the 1943 bulletin, and their reason is the one your eye already knows. Thread that is too light stands out visibly once the garment is worn, while thread a shade darker sinks down into the shadow of the weave and disappears. Lighter thread lies to you under the lamp and tells on you in the daylight. Number 10. The grain match rule. Same bulletin, one more law. Darn in line with the yarns of the cloth, lengthwise and crosswise, both directions, and never on the slant. Look closely at a suit or a pair of good trousers, and you can see the grain, the straight rows the cloth was woven on. Your rows of stitches follow those rows exactly, up and down, then side to side. So the mend reads as part of the weave instead of a mark laid across it. Diagonal darning on a straight weave is the mistake you can spot across a church aisle. Diagonal is an amateur's signature. The grain is nobody's signature at all, and nobody's is the one you want on your good clothes.
Number 9. The suit elbow.
And here is a jacket from 1937, because I promised you Della's own procedure, and it turns out to be the last 3 tricks working together. She held the elbow up to the west window light and found it thin, not through, which meant she had caught it in time. So, a backing square of harmonizing wool tacked inside the elbow. That is number 12. Thread 1 shade darker than the suit wool. That is number 11. Then fine rows darned with the grain, lengthwise first, then crosswise, each stitch catching down into the backing. Rows set as close together as her eyes could put them, until the thin ground was rebuilt solid enough to trust. If an elbow has already gone clean through, the bulletin says cut a neat square around the hole, tack the backing behind it, and darn across the opening in both directions the same way. Then press the work on the wrong side over a damp cloth and hold that thought, because the pressing is number 8. The whole repair took her one evening by the lamp, in the same Thursday hour the basket always got. Della had a saying about all of this: a good wool suit will outlive the man who bought it, if somebody in his house knows how to darn. She taught me this elbow darn at that same work table when I was 10 years old, and my hands still do it her way. That jacket took my grandfather to church for another decade of Sundays. A month of wages, kept in the dresser drawer by one evening and a spool of thread. Number 8. The damp cloth press. The finisher nobody counts as mending. Every repair in wool gets. Pressed on the wrong side, with a damp cotton cloth laid between the iron and the garment. Warm iron, firm and patient. A piece of old flour sack was Della's pressing cloth, kept folded in the basket, though linen is best if you have it, and it pressed everything from the elbow darn to the Sunday collars. The steam settles the new stitches down into the weave and flattens the worked ground until the mend lies like the cloth around it, closer to factory work than to home work. 2 minutes at the board and it is done. Number 7. The trouser cuff turn. Trouser cuffs wear through on the lowest crease first, right where the cloth breaks over the shoe, and the old tailors did not patch that wear, they moved it. First, measure both legs before you cut anything, because one uneven cut gives you 2 different trousers. Open the cuff seam with a seam ripper and press the cloth out flat. Cut exactly on the line of wear, the lowest crease, straight across. That instruction sits in the 1943 bulletin word for word. Cut off the cuff exactly on the line of wear. Turn the raw edge under, fold a fresh cuff to the depth you want, baste it in place. Stitch it down by hand or machine and press the new fold sharp over the damp cloth from number 8. And if the leg has gone too short to give you a cuff, leave it plain. A turn-up was never compulsory. Turn both cuffs in one evening, and the trousers earn another year or 2 of honest use. Do it twice over their life, and you have saved the full price of the trousers themselves. Number 6. Sides to middle. Out of the closet now and into the linen press, because the biggest piece of cloth you own wears out in the laziest way possible. A sheet goes thin exactly where bodies lie, in a strip down the middle, while both sides stay strong as the day they were woven. You already found that strip at number 22, up against the window light. Now cut the sheet in 2, lengthwise, right down that middle, and cut the thin ground away entirely. Swap the halves, so the strong former outside edges come together at the centre, and seam them there firmly. A flat fell seam is the strongest choice, the same seam that holds your jeans together. Hem the fresh outer edges, press the whole sheet well, and it is sound from edge to edge again. An English encyclopaedia for women from about 1910 gives the method just that plainly. When the middle is past mending and the sides are still good, cut the weak place away and join up the portions. That is another 3 to 5 years of service from a sheet the modern closet would have bagged for the curb.
I will be square with you about the one drawback.
The centre seam sits a little proud and some sleepers feel it. So put that sheet on as the bottom layer, or send it to the spare bed where it gives good service without comment. There was never a new sheet in Della's linen press that I can remember. There was never a worn-out one either.
Number 5. Finish the raw edges first.
Before you sew that centre seam, or any seam through mended cloth, stop and look at the 2 cut edges. Raw cotton frays. A flat fell seam sewn over a fraying raw edge pulls itself apart from the inside within a month, and you will blame the seam when the fault was the edge the whole time. So finish the edges before you fell them. A short zigzag stitch on the machine if you have one, a plain whip stitch by hand if you do not. Run down each raw edge first, then fell the seam over those finished edges, and the same seam that would have failed by washing day now holds for years.
Number 4. The twist test.
From here down we are in the ragbag, turning clothes past saving into things worth keeping, and none of it pays unless the cloth is worth the labour. So this is the 5-second test the rug makers trusted. Tear off a strip, pull it taut between your hands and twist it hard. Wool and heavy cotton hold the twist, clean and tight, like a little rope that wants to stay a rope. Synthetics spring back open or feel slick and slippery between your fingers while you twist. Braid the springy stuff into anything and your work falls apart by spring. And I will say this part plain. Take most of what fast fashion hangs on its racks today and give it the twist. Watch what springs back at you. Wool remembers. Use the cloth that remembers.
Number 3.
The braided door rug. When a wool coat is finally past mending, past being cut down for the children, Della still was not done with it, and neither was Lydia Maria Child, who printed the instruction in 1832 almost exactly as I am going to give it to you. When old coats and pantaloons can no longer be garments, cut them into strips and braid them for doormats. Cut the old wool into strips, 1 inch to 1.5 inches wide, cutting with the grain where you can. Sew the strip ends together into 3 long strands of about equal length and braid the 3 firm and even. Della set grandchildren to the braiding, and Child suggested exactly that. The leisure moments of children put to use, because small hands braid as well as big ones. Then coil the braid flat into an oval and lace the coils together with heavy thread or linen twine, catching each loop of braid as you go round. And here is the trick inside the trick. Hold the coil against your knee and pull every lacing stitch snug before you take the next one, because a slack-laced rug loosens and splays apart after 1 season of boots, and a tight-laced one lies flat for a decade. Use only strips that pass the twist test at number 4. A mix of dark cloth from 3 or 4 different old coats makes the handsomest mat of all, and good wool underfoot outwears the bought mats, which give out faster and cost real money doing it. 3 coats worth of winters, put back to work at the kitchen door. In Della's house, even the end of a garment's life was employment.
Number 2.
Pot holders from the ragbag. The smaller scraps, the pieces too little for rug strips, become the pot holders you never buy again. 1 rule before you cut anything, and it is the rule that makes or ruins the whole piece. Sort your scraps by weight. Thin cottons with thin cottons, heavy cloth with heavy cloth, and never mix cotton and wool in the same piece, because they shrink at different rates, and the first hot wash puckers your good work into a washboard. Cut even squares over a cardboard template, 4 or 5 inches on a side. Lay them out to please your eye, lights against darks. Sew the squares into rows, right sides facing, with a 1/4 inch seam. Press the seams open, then join the rows into the finished piece. Pot holder, table mat, and if the rag bag runs deep enough, the top of a quilt. And this is work for company. Child blessed it in 1832 as good economy, a few shillings saved out of scraps of gowns and curtains, and she wrote that patchwork keeps a whole family out of idleness. She was right. The grandchildren can cut and sort squares long before they can sew a stitch. The store wants $8 to $15 for a set of 2 pot holders. The rag bag charges an hour of sitting work for cloth you already paid for once. Number 1. The invisible patch. Go get the tin. Because here is the secret the old encyclopedias kept. The reason the home patch looks homemade, and it was never your stitching. It is the thread. Patch a garment with store thread and store cloth, and the mend sits on the surface like a postage stamp, the colour half a shade off, the texture foreign, no matter how neat your needle is. But darn the patch in with threads unravelled from a spare piece of the garment's own cloth, and the repair vanishes into the weave, because it is the weave. That is what every snippet in your scrap tin has been waiting for since number 14. Now the whole procedure, exactly the way Della did it. Cut a neat square around the damaged place. Tack a piece of canvas or fine net behind it, about 2 inches square, with its threads lying parallel to the garment's weave. Take the matching snippet out of the tin and ravel long threads off its edge, the same wool, the same bolt, the same dye lot. Before you take a single stitch, hold those ravelled threads against the garment in strong light, right at the window. If the match is not right in good light, it will not be right after washing, so sort it out now, not after. Then darn across the hole with the garment's own threads, warp first, then weft, over and under, until the backing is covered, and the square has filled in with cloth that was born on the same loom. On patterned wool, trace the pattern back over the darn with fine matching thread, so the stripe, or the check, walks straight across the mend without a stutter. Do not pull your rows tight. A puckered darn bulges, and a bulge wears. Press it gently from the wrong side. Damp cloth, warm iron, number 8, one last time. Then hold the garment up to the light and try to find your repair. You will not find it. The encyclopaedia that taught this, from about 1910, put the whole secret in one line. The patch should be darned in position with threads unravelled from a spare piece of the stuff. Della called it buying thread for what thread can replace. The mend disappears because the cloth itself came back. Nothing thrown away, nothing bought twice, nothing to be ashamed of. That is the whole craft in one trick, and that is the 25. Before I let you go, let me set the tin back on its shelf above the work table, under the same west window where Della held that jacket up to the light in 1937, and say the quiet part out loud. Fast fashion did not beat Della's craft with a better shirt. It beat her daughters with a $15 one, built to dye inside a year, and 60 years of marketing that taught them a mend was something to hide. They engineered the dyeing, and then they sold you the shame. But you sat with me through 25 tricks tonight, so you already know the answer to it. A needle, a spool, and 10 minutes beat the checkout page every time. If you want all of this down on paper, with the real sources from 1832 to 1946 printed beside each method, my little book is at frugalpennywisdom.com, and it will wait for you there. Now I have a question for you, and I want real answers in the comments, because this audience holds more of this knowledge than any book I own. What is the oldest piece of clothing in your house that is still working because somebody mended it? Tell me what it is and how old it is. I want to hear the record. This is Granny Pearl, and I will leave the porch light on for you.